Welcome everyone, join us today as we explore the extraordinary life and meteoric rise to rock stardom of Rick Parfitt, the powerhouse guitarist and vocalist of English band Status Quo. So let's dive in. Rick grew up in a 3-bedroom house on the Elmbridge Council estate, attending Goldsworth School. His father Richard was an insurance salesman with a penchant for drinking and gambling, while his mother Lillian worked in cake shops. Despite these challenges, Rick fondly recalled his upbringing as wonderful and saw himself as a typical naughty boy. He began learning to play the guitar at the age of 11 and left school at 15 to try his hand in music. In 1963, Rick was playing guitar and singing at the Prince of Wales Feathers pub in Camden, London. An agent from Sunshine Holiday Camp on Hayling Island offered him a performing job, earning him £5 a week. At the camp, Rick joined Jean and Gloria Harrison, forming a cabaret trio called the Highlights. After the season, their manager Joe Cohen arranged for the Highlights to perform at Butlins in Minehead. It was here that Rick met Francis Rossi, who was playing with Alan Lancaster and John Coughlin in a band called the Spectres. They soon rebranded as Traffic Jam, riding the psychedelic wave. Rick joined the band as an extra vocalist upon the suggestion of their manager, Pat Barlow, marking the beginning of Status Quo's journey. Having already signed a 5-year deal with Piccadilly Records in 1966 and releasing 3 singles that failed to chart, the new lineup, including Rick Parfitt, Francis Rossi, John Coughlin, Alan Lancaster, and Roy Lyons, began writing their own material. In 1967, Traffic Jam officially became new band name, the Status Quo. The band's fortunes changed with their next single, Pictures of Matchstick Men in 1968, written by Rossi, which reached number 7 in the UK and the top 40 in the US. They had another UK top 10 hit with Ice in the Sun later that year, though their debut album, Picturesque Match Stickable Messages from the Status Quo, failed to chart. Dropping the from their name, they released Spare Parts in 1969, which also flopped. Shifting to a tougher rock sound and adopting an earthy jeans and t-shirts image, they reached number 12 in 1970 with Down the Dustpipe. However, the subsequent albums Ma Kelly's Greasy Spoon in 1970 and Dog of Two Head in 1971, their first without Lines, were unsuccessful. They signed a new deal with Vertigo and self-produced Piledriver in 1972, featuring the hit Paper Plane. This track showcased Quo's signature style with churning guitars, simple lyrics, and a 24-bar structure, with the album reaching number 5. They found a winning formula, with band members taking on production and most songwriting duties, releasing albums annually until 1983. Hello in 1973 was their first number 1 album, featuring the top 5 single Caroline. On the Level in 1975 also hit number 1 and included their first chart-topping single, Down Down. The next year's Blue For You debuted at number 1, preceded by the top 10 hit Rain, written by Rick, who described it as simple but effective, and slightly more laid-back than their usual singles. Rick defended the band against critics, stating, "People try to dismiss what we do, but they can't. They often criticize our music for being simple, but it's not. It may seem simple in its chords, but playing it the way we do is far from easy. It's bloody hard work." In 1977, the band brought in Pip Williams to produce Rockin' All Over the World, with the title track, written by John Fogerty, becoming a Quo classic. Notable albums followed, including Whatever You Want in 1979, with its hit title track co-written by Rick, and Never Too Late in 1981, recorded during the same Dublin sessions with producer John Eden as Just Supposing in 1980. Their fourth and final chart-topping album, 1+9+8+2 in 1982, introduced Pete Kircher as the new drummer and featured Andy Bone, a longtime Quo collaborator, as the official keyboard player. The group disbanded temporarily in 1985, with their Wembley Live 8 appearance marking the last performance by that lineup. During this break, Rick recorded a solo album, Recorded Delivery, with bassist John Edwards and drummer Jeff Rich, though it was never released. Some tracks from the album later appeared as Status Quo B-sides. Rich and Edwards then joined Rick, Rossi, and Bone to form a new version of Quo. After settling a lawsuit brought by Alan Lancaster, Rick and Rossi retained the Status Quo name and celebrated by releasing In the Army Now in 1986, with the title track becoming a number 2 hit. Although the group had passed their record-selling peak, they continued to command a huge fanbase. In 1986, they played with Queen at Wembley Stadium and toured Europe with them. They made a splash on the singles charts with 2 medleys, the Anniversary Waltz Part 1 and Part 2, both 1990, and hit the top spot in 1994 with Come On You Reds, credited to Manchester United with Status Quo. Among albums of new material, Don't Stop, the 30th anniversary album in 1996, and Famous in the Last Century in 2000, were collections of cover versions. Rick never curbed his enthusiasm for rock and roll excess. In 2004, he revealed details of his drink driving and drug abuse in Excess All Areas, an autobiography co-written with Rossi. In 1997, he underwent quadruple bypass surgery after doctors warned that his lifestyle was life-threatening. Remarkably, he was back on stage within 3 months. In 2005, he was tested for suspected throat cancer but was given the all clear. In August 2014, while on tour in Croatia, he fell ill and required further heart surgery. Rick's personal life was marked by ups and downs. He met 17-year-old Patti Beeden in 1968, but married Marietta Berker in 1970. They had a son, Richard, but their daughter Heidi tragically drowned at age 2. Rick described the loss as something you learn to live with but never fully get over. The marriage ended, and Rick was then linked romantically to page 3 girl and glamour model Debbie Ashby in the mid-1980s. In 1988, he married former girlfriend, Patti Beeden, and they had a son, Harry, in 1989 but divorced after Rick briefly reconciled with Berker. They reunited in 2000 but separated again when Rick became engaged to Lindsay Whitburn. They married in 2006 and had twins Tommy and Lily in 2008. Patti Beeden remarked that while Rick could be lovely, his darker side was also evident. Meanwhile, Status Quo's career took on a series of distinctive events. In 1999, they embarked on the Night of the Proms tour across Europe with a full orchestra. The following year, they performed on a railway carriage in the Australian outback on the Great South Pacific Express. In 2003, they played at the British Grand Prix party at Silverstone. By 2007, they appeared at the newly rebuilt Wembley Stadium for the concert for Diana, and in 2009, they performed at both Carrickfergus Castle and Glastonbury. Quo hit number 10 with their album Quid Pro Quo in 2011, which was enhanced by a deluxe edition sold exclusively through Tesco. They then embarked on a UK arena tour. In 2012, the band released Hello Quo, a 2.5-hour documentary about their history, which was better received than Bula Quo in 2013, a comedy feature where the band found themselves entangled in a murder mystery in Fiji. Released next, Aquastic 2 That's a Fact, follows the success of its predecessor, Aquastic Stripped Bare in 2014, which hit number 5 on the UK chart. Both albums feature Quo's classic songs reimagined in acoustic arrangements. Additionally, in 2015, Universal Music issued Accept No Substitute, the definitive hits. In June 2016, Rick experienced a major heart attack following a show in Antalya, Turkey. Freddie Edwards, John Edwards' son, temporarily filled in for him, and Richie Malone was later chosen as his permanent replacement. Rick announced his retirement from touring with the band but was preparing a solo album and autobiography for the following year. Sadly, on December 24, 2016, Rick passed away in a Marbella hospital from sepsis, after being admitted on December 22 due to an infection related to a pre-existing shoulder injury. His funeral took place at Woking Crematorium on January 19, 2017. He is survived by his wife Lindsay, their twins Tommy and Lily, and his sons Richard and Harry from previous marriages. And there you have it. Thanks for tuning in to our tribute to Rick Parfitt. His legacy lives on through his timeless music and the countless lives he touched. Remember to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the lives of music legends. Take care and bye for now.